Aloha and welcome to Records of the Reset. Today we're going to be talking about the cyclical cataclysm that happens to this world and different places where it's been recorded, especially in artwork. Coins have actually been brought to my attention. And speaking of coins, we're going to do those last. I want to give a shout out to another channel called Conspiracy Are Us. I put a link to 2 of his videos in the description of this video. A couple of people, including Dr. who's in the chat right now, and a couple other people, they recommended that I check this out because, as you'll see on these coins from the medieval ages, they record the cataclysms that happen to this world that I talk about quite often. Even the hole in the sky, the depressurization point, and the beams of light, the terrestrial beams of energy. So without any further ado, let's jump into some stuff. Actually, let me say hello to everybody in the chat and make sure that the sound is working. If you don't mind giving me a thumbs up, just for the sound if you want. If you want to like the video, that's awesome too. But I'll take a thumbs up for the audio if it sounds okay. I've been working on the audio lately, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. Once I see a couple of thumbs ups, oh, that's me. It's meta me. All right. So anyways, let me show you. We're going to go through some stuff. Now we're going to start with some really ancient depictions of the Tree of Life, which is what this is right here. And I'm going to come back to that in just a second. I see Patricia Kadosh in the chat. David Levi, thank you for the thumbs up. Jessica Kinsey. Adi, Lala Intuitive. Okay, sweet. Sounds good. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Let's jump into the action and check out some of this interesting stuff. Some of these records, people have recorded the terrestrial beams of energy that shoot up out of cavernous systems in the earth, the world across. But the biggest one being at the center of the world, Mount Meru, which is on an island paradise at the exact center, that is separated into 4 different lands by 4 rivers, as is described in the book of Genesis in the Bible. Now, what we have right here are some Assyrian depictions of the Tree of Life. Now, look at this. Now, first, I just want to point this out. Does it look like any tree that you've ever seen? These right here, especially this one on the left over here, they portray it as a pillar. They portray it as a column, often with like fire or something shooting out of the top. And then you have these little plasmoids off to the side. They look like Christmas lights. This is where I believe our Christmas tree tradition comes from, decorating the tree, especially putting lights around the tree, to celebrate the apocalypse, to celebrate and to remember. I mean, I feel like a lot of these holy days or set apart times, a long time ago, they were instituted to keep surviving members' families and tribes safe so that they would gather and be in the right place at the right time so they would have food and whatnot. And people started different traditions as they would meet up at certain times of the year, especially the solstices and the equinoxes, which is where all of these holidays tend to land. But if you look at these pictures, you could see here, this is a column. This is the Tree of Life in ancient Sumeria, Assyria, and various places in the Middle East, at least Babylon and so forth. Here's another one. This is not a palm tree with strange Christmas lights or decorations around it. This is electrical energy, terrestrial beams of energy that shoot up out of the earth. It's ionized gas that explodes out of the earth and rushes so quick it becomes electrified and it becomes plasma, beams of terrestrial light that shoot up and seem to support the firmament above us, which we're going to come back to in a minute too. The firmament and understanding the physical nature of the realm that we live on top of, on the surface, up here on the surface realm, is critical for me personally, has been critical, and an important element in going even further and pushing the boundaries to understand what our ancient world was like, to remember things that we have forgotten, which I call ancient oblivion. So you can see here, there's all of these electrical connections that go up between the different ones. This is also depicted as the Jed and many other forms, in different cultures for example, like in Egypt and stuff. This one is another version of this. Oftentimes you'll see this with two witnesses on either side of it. Two people that look like they're praising this tree or maybe picking a fruit off of it or something. These are the two witnesses, the two lampstands, the two lights, or lambs or lions, you could say as well. Here's another depiction with the two witnesses, just as we just described. Now, let's point out some different parts of this, right? First and foremost, this is not a tree. It is the tree of life, but the tree of life is not an actual tree, a physical tree with bark and, it's not a physical tree. It's an ethereal tree. It's a spiritual tree. It is the light of the world that shoots up to the heavens and touches the sky, that connects heaven and earth at the axis mundi. And here you can see that there are two witnesses, once again, on either side. I believe that these two witnesses, my theory on this is that they are anode and cathode plasma volcanoes on either side of the island of paradise, one positive, one negative. Now, above the tree, this is very interesting. You often and almost always, I often and almost always find the depressurization point in the firmament whenever it opens up. Also an inverted dome, as I'll show you here in some of these coins that we're going to take a look at. Now, this one is depicted as the quote-unquote flying disc. It's got a godlike figure on the inside of it. It also has the bird symbolism, right? So what happens is this tree of life, this terrestrial beam of plasma, it shoots up, and as it gets very high up into the atmosphere, it starts to branch out. It starts to separate. It forms the ancient symbol for the letter Vav, which is the number 6, or it equates to the number 6. And it makes this Y in the sky. It makes this sort of a Y shape or a hook, a tent peg, etc. And that's the origin and the root for pagans or peg-on, or those of the peg or pag. It's same exact root word etymologically speaking. Now, this is a bird shape over here because whenever that beam spreads out at the top, it becomes an aurora, and those auroras look like the wings of a bird, and it feathers out, and this takes the shape. It's drawn and cartoonified across time as many different types of cosmic birds, whether it be a firebird or a thunderbird. I have a thunderbird up here on my bookshelf, which is almost always at the very top of totem poles, because that totem pole represents these beams, these terrestrial beams of energy that shoot up and then branch out. That's why they put this bird on the top. The phoenix, there's other different celestial birds of creation. Now we move on to this next one. Here are records that have been kept, written in stone, written in the rocks, preserved by nature itself. You can see that these span across the world, and they're the exact same or similar glyphs and shapes. People all across the world, Washington, Russia, Nevada, Ireland, Siberia, Kazakhstan, Spain, Brazil, Mexico, Sweden, Kyrgyzstan, Turkey, New Mexico, Utah, Jordan, Denmark, Canary Islands, the Altai Mountains, Siberia, the Indus Valley, Norway's down here on the bottom, Arizona's right here, Tibet, Ethiopia, Italy, and this is just a small handful of examples. These glyphs are everywhere. You'll see that many a times they'll show you, let me zoom in on some of these right here. Like we'll start with this one in Washington. It's got a circle with another circle on the inside. And between those two circles, there are rays that emanate from the inner circle to the outer circle. This is plasma that is emanating or seeping out or into the dome that is above us, the covering, the firmament itself. And this is also Medusa's face, Medusa's head, which is why Medusa is often only portrayed as a head in so many different examples, especially the main example would be on Zeus's shield, or the aegis, as I like to call it. And we've discussed that shape many different times, the dome in the sky, the eye in the sky. So you can see here, it's the doom shape, just as described in the Colburn Bible, right? People looked up and they described across the world at the same exact time frames. People looked up and they saw this shape that was a dome, which is where the word doom comes from. It's the dome. Whenever the dome opens up, it brings doom and, scary things happen. It's cataclysms and apocalypses. Here we have one in Russia. This is the wheel in the sky symbolism. People cartoonify it. It's put through their perception filters in different ways. So they interpret it in different ways. If they don't understand the physical nature of the world that they live in, if they don't understand how it's comprised and how it's made and what forms and shapes it takes, this is why it's important for people like me to study the shape of the world that I live on, so that I can better understand how that shape affects the natural world and therefore history and people and animals and other things as well. Here's another one. In Nevada, the inner circle, the outer circle, this is the eye in the sky. It looks like the outer part of the eye and then the iris of the eye right there in the middle. That's actually a dome, an inverted dome, like a light up there on the apex of the firmament facing downwards towards us, with a depressurization point in the middle, which becomes sealed off after the apocalypse, and so it creates another little dome inside of that. We've got more over here. We've got Siberia. Let me see some other good ones too. Sometimes it just looks like this. It almost just looks like a circle with lines going through it because they meet in the middle, and otherwise that would be another circle right there. Spain, Brazil. This is also the symbol for, what is it, NBC or something? Like all of your major networks, all of your major companies and places that stemmed from those who were basically the survivors of past and prior cataclysms that retained this knowledge. That knowledge allowed them power and understanding to survive and to build, just to procreate, really, and to reform and reshape the world as they see fit, because they are the patriarchs of the new world, or matriarchs of the new world. They're the leaders. They're the ones who are going to have tribe after tribe, and those tribe members are going to look up to their elders and listen to them and do what they say. So you'll oftentimes find that these companies and corporations use these exact same types of imagery on their television shows. It could be the tree of life, and it could be the eye in the sky. These two symbols are in opposition to each other. I will tell you that. Typically, the tree of life, the beam symbolism, the rod, the cruciform, etc., the Y in the sky, the Irminsul of Anglo-Saxon lore, all of these different types of tree of life symbolism, usually that, or even Mount Meru symbolism. The Mount Meru, because Mount Meru gives birth to Dreaming a Dream Awake. Hey, and one of my favorite channel names. Mount Meru gives birth. It's the plasma volcano gives birth to the plasma, right? And so they're connected. So all these different examples. Now here's an interesting one as well. You can see that there's the doom shape right here. This is also reflective. That doom shape up there in the sky, the inverted dome, if the sky is made out of ice, or I shouldn't say sky, because there's atmosphere and stuff that we consider to be sky. When I say the sky, as in capital T, the sky, I mean the firmament. I mean the physical, actual thing that creates the pressure underneath that gives us atmosphere and weather patterns and things of that nature. So if it's made of ice, as I believe that it is, or I speculate that it is and theorize, it's reflective. So whenever these beams, such as this one right here, this is not a human, there's not a person. These people weren't on drugs, as many people in academics will tell you. Oh yeah, they were smoking peyote, they were high on drugs and stuff, and so they just imagined these things, the world across. Like no matter what they were doing, the world across, every single one of them drew very similar, exact same pictures. They weren't on drugs. They were lucid. They were sober. They were looking at something up in the heavens, which was a celestial and terrestrial phenomenon that happens cyclically, once in a blue moon, and once every once in a while. Anyway, so this is the Squatter Man figure. This is the beam of light, and it splits into different sections as it goes up and creates its own little instabilities. And then, anyways, that's why you have a cross on this. People have reported in the Anglo-Saxon chronicles, they reported seeing a cross in the moon during the Middle Ages. That's because the moon is a projected light, or a projection, a hologram, of the actual physical substance of this right here, the eye in the sky. And that right there can reflect the land that is directly below it, which is cross-sectioned by 4 rivers, giving us this image in the sky that's reflective and showing us the Garden of Life, the Garden of Paradise, Eden, that has these 4 rivers right here. Steph, hey, thank you, Steph. I appreciate it. All right, let's check out a couple more, and then we're going to move on to this next one. That's also where these types of symbols come from. These rivers, they pour out of paradise, and then there's a current. They follow the current, which is really an electrical current or an electromagnetic current, but the water also follows these currents and things as well. So they all move in different ways. This also happens above us, as above, so below. So above us, whenever the world or the atmosphere depressurizes and that plasma comes in, at first it comes straight in, but once it hits the atmosphere, which will be spinning around in a world tempest that's created by the depressurization of our atmosphere, it's all getting sucked out, so it starts to spin. When the plasma comes in, it will also start to spin, and it will create a broken cruciform and whatnot. All right, let's move on to this next one over here. Let's see what else we got. All right, here's another example of the tree of life as it's depicted. These are Assyrian versions of it. Sometimes it's called homa, or the fruit of it is haoma, which people would eat, and it would give them energy because it's pure energy. And these energetic balls, these plasmoids, plasma balls and whatnot, they interact with the atmosphere. So if the atmosphere is foggy and there is mist the world across because the atmosphere has been ripped apart from rapid depressurization, then whenever you add electricity to it, it's going to have an effect on that mist and whatnot. That mist is going to combine with, now I'm talking about manna. Okay, I'm talking about the fruit of the tree of life, which is manna. Manna is created whenever these plasmoids and the electricity itself from the terrestrial beam of energy in the middle of the Garden of Eden shoots up, it interacts with the mist itself, charging it, but then that mist is pushed away and out of the Garden of Eden. Therefore, it creates a wall of fog all the way around this phantom island, this mysterious island. It's hidden by a wall of fog. That fog is in part due to the pressure difference between the inner world and the surface world where we are, or the uttermost western part of our world, which is at the center that goes down, because west is down and east is up in the ancient days. Okay. So anyways, let me get back on point. Manna. How's manna created? So manna is created whenever all of the pollen that is released from all of these plants, gigantic plants. Everyone knows that the Garden of Eden is a garden, and it's the magic forest. It's all of these quintessential, types of, imagery types and whatever. Anyways, all that pollen mixes. The pollen gets blown out to the peripheral edges of that circular island as well, mixes with the wetness that's in the air from the fog and whatnot, and it solidifies, and it falls down to the ground in these gelatinous, gooey, pieces. And when those dry out, people can eat the pollen, basically. It becomes little pollen wafers, which is full of, it's nutritious, basically. All right, next up, Hermes bird. Now, I did a whole episode on the bird of Hermes, but it's good for us to remind ourselves what this means. First and foremost, let's break down this word Hermes, or Harmesh. In the ancient, they would say Mish. Har means mountain. Not so much hill, but mountain. Harmesh. Mesh means out of the water. That's what Moses was named after. He was drawn out of the water. If you can remember that story. Hold on, my light turned off. One sec. Come on, light. I get so overwhelmed whenever I have technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Got it. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. That's what I get for shopping at Walmart. Hold on. Come on, light. There we go. All right, cool. Hopefully it'll stay like that. All right, my bad. All right, so Hermes. Let's break it down. Har means mountain. Mesh means out of the water, or to be pulled out of the water, drawn out of the water. So it's the mountain that comes out of the water. What water? There's a lake, a huge crystal clear, pure lake of water, of fresh water, at the center of the Garden of Eden. And there's a small island that mostly consists of this holy mountain, the set-apart mountain, the tallest mountain of the world, a high and lofty black mountain, a magnetic mountain. Now, why is that mountain magnetic? It's because of this, the bird of Hermes, or the plasma that comes up out of it and spreads out and splits into two up in the sky, creating that Man, now I'm out of breath. Hold on. Sorry. I gotta work out more. Anyways, that's what this is depicting right here. So these serpents and dragons and stuff, as you can see, it has the head of a dragon right here, right? Dragons didn't have hands. When they were originally drawn, they didn't have hands. They didn't have legs and stuff. Those were added over time through cartoonification, through personification, through projection, because people considered them to be serpents, not snakes. Okay? I mean, they were like sky snakes, but there's a huge difference between a serpent and a snake. A snake is an actual animal that slithers around on the ground. A serpent is plasma that comes down from above. It slithers around, it undulates, and it acts like a snake, but they're two totally different things. Serpent is related to seraphim. They are glowing ones. They're wonderful serpents. They light up. They're beings of light. They're light beings. They're also shapeshifters. So you can see this is the bird that comes out of the mountain that comes out of the water, which is also Mary, speaking in religious iconography. Now, there's a phoenix in between the two, and the phoenix is a couple of different words. It's pho, which in many Asian languages, I think Filipino and maybe Chinese, I can't remember, but pho equates to fire. That's all you need to know. Pho equates to cooking, fire, things of that nature. That's why you see so many Vietnamese restaurants start with pho, because it's related to cooking and fire and things of that nature. So Nyx means night. This is fire, which meant light in the ancient languages originally. Fire was more of an implication of what kind of light. But this means nightlight. That's what Phoenix means. Like, it means nightlight. This is the bird on fire at night in the darkness. This is a glowing light. This is a subtle light. This is a soft light. This is a dark light. There's many different ways to call this, and it's also been cartoonified into a bird. Now, the reason that there is a cloud around it is because this is where the depressurization begins, above. It begins above, plasma comes into our world, and there's lots of dominoes that will knock over. But whenever you have rapid depressurization, you can look this up. Just type in rapid depressurization on YouTube or any other place, and you'll see many examples of what happens. Typically, you'll see this in an airplane. So type in airplane cabin depressurization, and they do this all the time to make sure that, they can pressurize the cabins of their airplanes. Fog instantly appears. Mist just starts rising up out of nowhere whenever they rapidly depressurize the cabin. So this is the bird of Hermes. Hermes, the same god as Hermes Trismegistus, which means the thrice great, or the three times, which would be anode, cathode, and Mount Meru in the center. All right, let's continue on. See what else we got here. Oh, you'll also notice this other thing too. This is the sun. This is the moon, which means that whenever I show you the rest of these images, whatever is in the middle, which will have the word of God or Yahweh or the tetragrammaton, it will be engraved in the middle. That is not sun worship. That is something else. That is Aten. That is a whole different ball game. This is a different light source up there in the sky. It's not the sun, because there's a sun. It's not the moon, there's the moon. And all of this iconography is reflected in Freemasonry. So by listening to my channel, by studying these types of things, all of the weird symbols that you see in Freemasonry and, all the Masonic symbols and stuff like ladders and black and white checkerboards and aprons and all this stuff starts to make sense as you start to see that it's messages, that they're symbolic, and they don't represent some inner belief or desire to change, just like alchemy. Alchemy is the exact same way. People have turned alchemy into garbage. That's my opinion. I'm sorry. But man, people internalize the crap out of everything. Song lyrics, movies, alchemy, Freemasonic images and whatnot. They just internalize the crap out. Oh, it's my inner journey. Yeah, okay, that does happen. But there's a physical world we live on where these types of things physically happen. So let's check out this next picture here. Now, this is related to this other one. You saw the cloud in the background, right? That's the depressurization point. Now let's move more into apocalyptic inner imagery or cataclysmic inner imagery as well. Now, we've got that circle within a circle up here. Let me make it bigger. You can see the name. This is Hebrew. This is Yod, He, Vav, and He, right? Now, this is just written in modern Hebrew. They even have some vowel points and whatnot. I disregard vowel points and almost always vowels at all, because vowels were introduced to force dialect. After the Tower of Babel fell, which was really just the beam of energy being retracted back down into Mount Meru, or the unfinished pyramid, people lost their telepathic abilities. So they had to start vocalizing words and vocalizing feelings and these things that are just diminished whenever you try to discuss them and talk about them, which is why there's a commandment against writing, basically. Let me clarify. The commandment against writing, man, I'm going down so many rabbit holes. The commandment against writing is you shall not create an image of anything that's in the heavens above, on the earth, or down below. Image is, people would say pictures, right? Like carvings, statues, images. A long time ago, people would carve into rock to create pictures and images. This was called writing. That's what it is. All of these glyphs, even this one right here, these are considered to be carvings or images. These originally were picture form. Like this little symbol is actually a hand. It's just a little bent hand right there. This one right here is an open window of a house. This one right here is like a nail and stuff. These are all images. Anyways, I don't want to get too deep into that commandment or whatever, but let's check this out. Let's check this out. So around this, we see that there's these weird looking angelic heads. No bodies, right? Just heads. These little balls with little wings on them, because this is where plasma comes out. I talk about the different choirs of angels, classifications of angels, and how they're electromagnetic phenomenon, or this is my theory. There's different types, and I do believe there are aliens and things like that too. But if we go down one avenue, many different angelic accounts, as described in the Bible and other places, they perfectly fit if you look at them through an electric universe mindset or a plasma apocalypse mindset. Now, if we take a further look, we see huge lightning coming down. There's fire on the edge of this cloud right here. Fire does come down out of the heavens, out of the sky. When the sky opens up, fire or light can come down, and it takes many different forms. It takes on the form of electricity, like we see, like lightning bolts, typical lightning bolts that are very sudden and charged and crisp. But it also takes on the form of fuzzy balls and plasmoids and squiggly lines and columns and beams and pillars and other things too. Hey, who is that in my chat? Hold on. Oh, it was Setneg. Hey, Setneg says, my lunch break did a short on this. Yes. So another shout out to... Oh, My Lunch Break. That's right. I think he did too. So I like both of those guys. I'm subscribed to both of them. So shout out to My Lunch Break. If I can remember, I'll try to find his video too and put a link to his in the description. I've got a link to the other guy's channel and his videos in the description here. So if you want to check that out after this, feel free. All right, let's check out some more of this apocalyptic imagery that's been saved by artwork across time. So you've got lightning, you got fire, you got beams and pillars and plasmoids and balls and stuff. And then you have this. It's always a circle of clouds that goes around this, which we've already established is not the sun. That's not sun worship. This is the doom shape. This is the depressurization point. This is the dome within the dome. This is an inverted dome up there in the sky that blows open and opens up. Now, let's look this up. Ipse fecit. I looked that up earlier, but I just want to double check real quick. Ipse fecit. Boom. Let's see what that means. It's Latin and it means he himself did it. I think that's kind of funny. He did it. Was me. He did it. He's the one that did it. Maybe that's why they're all pointing up in so many different pictures and drawings and stuff. All right. So as you can see, this is Yahweh. Or, I mean, I've got theories about the name Yahweh and stuff too. I won't get into that right now. If you want to know what I think about the name Yahweh or Jehovah or any of those things, I know it can be a topic of contention amongst religious communities. I've been in many of them. I'm not one to be that contentious about it. I just like to study and research and take what resonates with me. But I have a whole video on it, one of my most popular ones. I think it's called The Mystery of Enki, and it should be in my Ancient Oblivion playlist. It's just a big eyeball for the thumbnail. Now let's check out some similar and related images. Here we have, again, what people might think or mistake as being the sun up in the sky. But we have It looks to be, I mean, it should say Yod-He Vav-He. This is more of like Vav-He Vav-He, but you know, people can't spell or whatever sometimes. And it's the depressurization point opening up above this town right here. Here's another one. Now on this one, just people have seen this one before. Let's check this one out. Up there in the heavens, we've got all of these people. This is from medieval times. This is from the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages, which were not dark. That was daytime. We go through cycles, long cycles, like the Mayans used to count, okay? We have small cycles of day and night every 12 hours. You know, some would even argue that because time is rapidly speeding up and changing in this world. Oh, who is that? Setneg. Oh, there you are. Hey, let me fix that up so that the notifications are above everything. Hold on. I want you guys to get your proper credit here. Let's do the live chat. Bam. And I'm actually going to stick that on the top of everything that you're looking at. That way you guys can be noticed here. All right, let me test that out. Let's do super chat to myself. This is not real. I'm not really donating to myself. Ah, that didn't work. What the heck? Oh, it's the alert box. Okay, I know. One second. We'll get back onto it in just a second. I just respect the good vibe trap. I love you guys. And I want to make sure everything's perfect for you. All right, cool. So let me test that out again. We'll do another little pretend super chat to myself. Booyah. There we go. And then I'll just stick this down over here. That works. All right, cool. Now everybody gets their proper credit. Thanks again for your support. Appreciate you guys. Now, this one right here, this is the medieval times. As I was saying, there's a difference between long periods of day and long periods of night. We now live in the night. We now live in darkness, okay? We have a skylight. We have night lights that go around in circles, the sun and the moon, that help us and act as clocks in the sky so we can keep track of, you know, where we are on the apocalyptic cycle, which is why the ancients who came before us carved megaliths that pointed towards the sun and the moon and stars and stuff at certain periods, usually solstices and equinoxes. They took it very seriously. But this is nighttime. The time will come where the earth will light itself up. We won't have need for a focal point called the sun any longer. People will no longer worship the sun as being so life-giving and depending upon it so we can have light and see and not be afraid of the dark, which the whole being afraid of the dark thing comes from these apocalyptic cycles where the lights turn out and monsters arrive, otherworldly creatures that come up from the hollow earth and float down out of the sky during the depressurization and the increase in buoyancy and whatnot. But anyways, whenever the gases explode out from cavernous systems and they ionize and they become pillars of light, they light up the world. We go through a color spectrum shift and a change. From like a red sky, there'll be a huge purple flash that will ease into more of a bloody red sky, or a bloody red Velkin, as it's described in the Anglo-Saxon chronicles. The sky was described as being blood red. Not just in like local places above certain cities because of local phenomena. This is the world across. This has been described. Anyways, let's check this out. This is the doom shape. Now, the doom shape has the 4 rivers of paradise because it's reflective. It acts like a mirror. The firmament acts like a mirror. This is how people way far away could easily be cartographers, and just all they had to do is be artistic, look up at the heavens and start drawing what they saw, because it was reflective of the land they live on. It was reflecting the surface world because it's being lit up from below. So this is the inverted dome. It's just a circle here. It's hard to get any perspective on it. It's hard to get any depth what's that called? Depth perceptive? I lost my vocabulary. Depth perception. Depth perception? You know what I mean. Depth perception. It's not a circle. That's why these are curved. See how this X kind of curves? That's because it's a dome. This is an inverted dome on both accounts. Okay. This one, on this example, you have lightning that's coming out of this. This is how, you know the Egyptian king Akhenaten. That's Ankh, like the cross, the Egyptian cross with the circle on top. Ankh. On, which is sky, and then Aten. The Ankh is the beam of terrestrial energy that shoots up out of Mount Meru. It's the tree of life. That's the Ankh. And then On is the heavens or the sky, and then Aten is this shape right here. It's the doom shape. It's the depressurization. It's the inverted dome. And energy comes out of it like snakes or whatever. That's exactly how it's drawn in ancient Egypt. Just like this, except for there's little tiny like Ankhs at the ends of these, because this actually brings things to life. Pardon me. There's clouds around this because that's the depressurization point. So it's going to fill the world with mist, which is exactly how you get Stephen King's, much of Stephen King's, works and stuff, but specifically the movie called The Mist. That's a retelling, a cartoonification of what happens when the mist fills up the world and monsters appear and stuff like that. All right, let's take a look at another example. Now we just broke this down. This is the prophet Ezekiel. Is he doing that thing with his hand? He is. You notice this too. I know a lot of you guys notice this. They will draw their hand like this. They'll put the two middle fingers together, and then they'll make like a W, which is the ancient letter Shin. Actually, it's the letter S technically. But man, if you start looking at their hands in a lot of these pictures, you'll see that the two middle fingers are stuck together. I think that's really interesting. Anyways, this is the prophet Ezekiel. He was given a vision. He saw something. Whether it was a dream or it really happened to him, I can't say. But I can say that the vision represents a reality and an historic event. This is supposed to be Jerusalem on fire. And this is what happens during these apocalyptic things. These are cherubim. We've talked about these being sprites, which are transient luminous events. And then these are plasmoids. Right? And the plasmoids usually are seen as lower than the sprites because that's where they are. There's a hierarchy to transient luminous events. There's lightnings at like the very bottom, and then above that you've got pixies, which are basically plasmoids, like these wheels within wheels and whatnot. They're little toroidal fields and stuff. Anyways, at the top you can see once again Yod He Vav He. It's weird. They make the letters look strange, but this is not the sun. Okay. Over here, you've got the winds, these little faces that are blowing wind, these angels that are blowing wind, because this creates a tempest. This is recorded, not just in the Bible and so many other religious books, but in the Book of Mormon. It also records what was happening here in the Americas at the exact same time when allegedly Jesus was being crucified and whatnot. They described a world storm happening way over here in the United States. And they described thunders and lightnings such as had never been seen before. They were so tremendous. People were terrified. And then a wind came that swept people away. And it says, whither they went, no man knoweth. No one knows where they went to. People were pulled up and sucked up into the sky itself and just tossed. Nobody knows where they went to. Here's another interesting depiction. What is this one? This is not a coin. I don't know what this is. It's just an illustration. I don't know, but it's interesting. Let's check this out. So Nekado. Let's look that up real quick. What does that mean? It means, if I remember correctly, not to fall. I don't fall, or something like that. Let's look it up. Nekado. ChatGPT, bam. ChatGPT is really good for translations. Nekado translation. Papow. It's Latin. It means I do not fall or I do not yield. All right, cool. So let's see. Where was that one? We got a lot of pictures to cover here. I hope you guys are having a good time watching. All right, so here we are. Nekado. So I do not fall. I do not. Usually it's not redundant. It's not I do not fall, I do not fall. It's that word kado can mean yield or fall. So it probably means and implies I do not fall, I do not yield, or I do not stop, basically. And what we have here is the land on the ground, typical land scene, scenery, right, landscape. But then up there in the heavens, we've got these strange fireballs and what looks like dragons or firebirds and arrows in the sky, and this plasma taking different shapes. And then of course central we have the pillar. This represents the beam of light that people see. You have to imagine, based on where you are or how far away from the center of the world at the North Pole, compared to where you are, you're going to have a different perspective on all these things that happen in the north to begin with, which is where everything begins, is in the north. So obviously the further away you are, the smaller this beam will look. The closer you are, you'll get a different view. Now this is the depressurization point, actually. As you can see, it's surrounded by fire. It's got the upside down horns. This is not the moon per se, as in the projection. It's just it's a phase. So that upside down dome I was talking about, that goes through phases. It lights up in the world to come and in the world that once was. It lights up. People see it, and it goes through its own little cycles just like our moon does. All right, here's another example. Let me zoom out a bit. You can get the whole picture here. It's kind of small on the screen there. So let's zoom in, and we'll start on the bottom here. Now, down here on the bottom, they have a depiction of Rupus Negra, Mount Meru. This is Sinai. This is Olympus. This is every quintessential holy and sacred mountain. I'm not saying there are not holy and sacred mountains that are also kind of special the world across in different countries or whatever. There are, because there's many different plasma volcanoes, but none like Rupus Nigra et Altissima, which means the high and lofty black mountain, the magnetic mountain, the lodestone mountain at the center of the world. There are none that can even compare to that one. And that one shoots forth the largest and tallest beams of light. It's the last one to light up as all of that fluid, which is plasma, fills up in the world. All the smaller cavernous systems, they'll fill up quicker. So you'll see all these little subsequent beams first, the world across. You'll start seeing sky beams and stuff. But Mount Meru is the last one that you'll see because there's way more spacious on the inside of Mount Meru. And so it just fills up slower and slower, and it shoots out and lights up the sky. So this is what this is representing. There's also 7 peaks here if you count them up. This represents Septentrion, the north. I mean, I don't want to get too in depth into Septentrion right now, but people associate the word Septentrion, 7, right, with the north. And it's not just like the name of the Arctic Circle or anything. It's this area right here that has these 7 crowns, 7 heads, or however you want to see it, 7 hills. And then if we go to the very top up here, the sky once again is ripped open. And you have the moon, or what looks like the moon, and then the symbol for the sun, which is a circle with a dot in the middle of it. Now, why do we have this for a symbol for the sun? You ever wonder that? That's not what the sun looks like, right? Unless it's an artifact and you're recording it through a camcorder or something, like it might do that. But that's not what the sun looks like. This is the ancient sun. There were different suns. There were different light sources, okay? So this is the doom shape that the modern sun, we sort of transferred that imagery onto the modern sun. That's why it looks like that. That's why that's a symbol. Now, this is the sky ripping open once again. Underneath Hermes, this is Hermes right here. He has his staff, which is just the beam of energy with all that electricity spiraling up it, running up and down that current. And that's Hermes. And he's seen as the messenger of the gods. So he's the middleman. He's actually in the middle of the god above, which has so many different names. It's a sky god, the inverted dome, the eye in the sky, etc. He's between that and Hades, or the underworld, or the gods that live down underneath. And I'm just using the term god loosely because that's what they were seen as. They were just mighty leaders, powerful, powerful things. Aurora, right underneath that. That's exactly where there should be an aurora with the wings of the eagle. Here's the phoenix, the wings of the phoenix, the eagle, the thunderbird, the firebird, etc. Lion, the lion symbolism. If you look up the word lion, it's directly related to light, basically. I don't want to get too in depth because I feel like I'm already kind of I'm going down so many rabbit holes already. But anyways, the lion represents light. Okay, that's really all you need to know at this juncture. Let's move on. All right, so this next one is interesting too. And I always like to translate these whenever I check them out. I like to translate them to see what they actually say. Can I move that? I can. Ooh, let's make it really big. And let's go up here. Now, in ancient Latin and other languages, the V is our modern U. So quator, which probably means 4. It's the root of quattro and quadrant and words like that. Peccata in caelum clamantia. Caelum means firmament. It means sky, basically. Let's look this up real quick. Nah, I don't want to do all that right now. Anyways, feel free to look that up whenever you want to. But here we have the depressurization point. They personify what they see. So they'll draw a human god, right? They project their own image onto these beings. And that's why these beings, oftentimes when they're drawn as gods in the ancient world, whether it be ancient Aztecs or Mayans or Egyptians or Greeks, they project the human shape and nature onto these gods, because sometimes they take the shape of, stick figure looking humans or whatever. But if you want to know what the god really is in the image. It's their accessories. Their accessories, whatever they're holding on to, whatever they're wearing, those things symbolizes which god it is by what it does and how it interacts with our actual world. And you'll almost always see like the ones carrying staffs, magic wands, poles, and things of that nature. Now we've got these 4 winds that say Vindica. Let's look this up real quick. Hold on. Vindica. Vindica translate. It means avenge or protect. Okay, so these are winds of protection or avenging winds. This is an apocalyptic wind. It's a tempest, basically. All right, let's go on to this next one. This is a popular one. You may have seen this. This is in Nuremberg, in Germany. And this is an actual newspaper clipping. Basically, this is a historic record that people, at least in this particular area, looked up into the sky and they saw balls of light moving around. These are plasmoids. This is what we were talking about. Now, the question is this actually the sun right there? Or does this represent the depressurization point? I don't know. It sort of looks like the sun, but I'm not sure. You have all these columns, these pillars, and then sometimes these balls descended and they went down onto people's houses and fields and stuff. And you can see that it set them on fire. Down here at the bottom, there's the town. And there's all those little Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. That's basically what that movie's about. It's just a personified, cartoonified. They say the truth is said in jest so often, right? Well, that's what this is. These are plasmoids, gigantic balls, red balls, probably if they're ionized hydrogen. And they set things on fire and they follow people's electrical fields. So they roll after people and stuff, right? And oftentimes they leave behind a residue. It's ectoplasm, because these are also a type of ghosts or entities or however you want to see it. They're supernatural and they're ghosts also. Okay, these are spirits. That's how I see it. Anyways, being such, they interact with the atmosphere like I talked about, and they leave behind a slime or a residue or whatever. And so this gives, rise to even more movies like The Blob and things of that nature. All right, let's go on to this next one. This one's really interesting. This is a depiction of what is written. Obviously this is a mountain and this is a valley. Over here you have this little town that's inside of this valley with these humongous, look how high up those mountains go. This is paradise. Okay, this is what's being depicted here. Let me zoom out and show you the whole thing here. You can see all of the garden, all the trees, animals, and people living peacefully and whatnot. This is a depiction of the garden. It's inside of these high and lofty mountains. And this is how I know it's the garden. There's a couple of different clues here. One is this black mountain right in the middle of it that has written on it the emerald tablets, the actual original emerald tablets. You can see right here it says Hermetis, or this is Hermes basically, right? I'm not going to read all that right now. But this is the emerald tablets written in its original, well, not original, but written in what looks to be Latin or something. So you have this black, dark mountain that's erupting. This is a volcano. Why would there be a volcano in the middle of paradise? Because it's a plasma volcano. All volcanoes, depending on the circumstances and which epoch we live in, are either life-giving or life-destroying. We live in the time now where they're destroying because of all that radioactive decay that's happening from all that energy that is no longer there. And all of those metals and crystals and stuff that used to be metals and crystals of power that glowed and gave off their own light and had healing effects on people nearby and stuff, they started giving off, they started losing their power. That's called radioactive decay. And when that happens, then these fill up with lava because all those metals melt and they mix with earth and, soils and stuff like that, and it creates lava. That's why lava melts. It's not rock melting. It's metal melting and then mixing with rock and stuff. Anyways, so this is a plasma volcano. This is Mount Meru. It's Rupus Nigra, which means black mountain, dark mountain. And look at this particular detail. Do you notice the sky is blue all the way across over here, but all of a sudden the sky is ripped open and it's orange right here. You see, that's not just clouds. These are clouds right here, and they go all the way across. Those are clouds right there. That's not the clouds stopping. That's the sky stopping at this exact point. That is not the sun. That's the depressurization point. That's Aten in Egyptian. All right, let's check out another example. Here's another example of Mount Meru. Some of this is coming from This particular picture, I was very interested in looking up and studying alchemical drawings, and especially those from the Middle Ages, right? I believe that alchemy is the study of these things, not the study, not like an internal search to better oneself, although that's admirable, and I believe in that, and I like that. I believe alchemy is places like this, actual physical places that through electricity, they rearrange electrons, and they actually change, the forms of things, and they can create new bonds, whether strengthening bonds and petrifying objects, or loosening them and allowing things to melt or dissipate or whatever. So one thing you'll notice, this is Rupus nigra. This is a type of Mount Meru. It's not the Mount Meru. It's just a cartoon version of it. It's hollowed out on the inside because it's a volcano. This is a mountain that's hollowed out on the inside. It's a volcano. It's a plasma volcano. You have the Phoenix right here in the middle. The Phoenix, over time, they changed it into the eagle because I would imagine that there are those out there that don't want people asking questions like, hey, what is this Phoenix, man? Why do you guys, that's not a real bird. And people would start asking questions. But an eagle is a real bird, It's also in the vulture family, in case you were wondering. We've got what look to be representatives of different gods and goddesses and stuff on this mountain, which also makes it Olympus, the meeting place of the gods, which is also where, according to the traditions of Enoch and the writings of Enoch, this is the mountain where the angels fell. They landed here. They land straight down on Mount Meru if they come in from straight above it. It makes sense that they would float straight down and land on Mount Meru. This is Olympus. This is Hermon, Mount Hermon, or Hermon, you could say. It just means mountain of the moon, basically, because the real moon is the inverted dome right above it, the physical moon. What else? We got Hermes up here at the top doing a little dance. We got the sun and the moon right here on the inside. We've got what look like 7 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes. This is also representative of the unfinished pyramid with those steps right there. We've got this guy who's blindfolded. He looks like he's nobility. He has no idea where he is or what he's doing. He looks like he's missing his middle finger as well. I just noticed that. Hold on. Let me look at that. Is he missing his middle finger? He is. He's got a stubby middle finger. Look at that. They must have cut off his middle finger. I don't know if you guys knew this, but that's what they did to slaves a long time ago. They would cut their middle fingers off. That's why when you give someone the bird or whatever, it used to be a gesture saying, ha ha ha, you didn't get my middle finger. You didn't cut it off. At least according to tradition. Now this other guy, he's helping these white rabbits get down into this. This is the rabbit hole symbolism because Mount Meru is the rabbit hole, like from Alice in Wonderland and all of that. And the reason why we see the zodiac going all the way around is because this is the mountain at the center of the world, and all the stars and everything revolve around this point, at least terrestrially speaking, right? If you're wondering what these words are real quick, let's check these out. So Ignis is fire, Eris is air, Akve is water, and then Terra is earth, obviously. All right, let's check out this next image. Anything else? No, I'm good on that. All right. Oh, here's another one, Mount Meru. We're going to get into the coins right after this. So here's another symbolic representation of Mount Meru. This says Mons, which means mountain. Magorum, which means major, grand, tall, high and lofty. And then you see this? What looks like an F right here? Let me teach you guys something. If you ever come across this letter, that's not an F. That's an S. That's how they drew S's, like different kinds of S's. Here's an S right here, but this is also an S. So this says invisibilis, right? Sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Sometimes you can tell what it means. It means invisible. It means hidden. It means the hidden gigantic mountain. And you see how tall and lofty that is? That's because those are, what do you call those? Oh man, my mind just went blank. What do you call those things? Like the Devil's Tower. It's made out of, excuse me, Devil's Tower, Giant's Causeway. They say, academic says it's lava and it forms these hexagonal pillars or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. My mind went blank. Oh, here we have the sun on one side. We have the moon on the other. That's how you know this is more context for what we're looking at, which mountain this is. We have, it looks like it says Regio, fantastico, or so fantastic region. This is a fantastic place. We have lumen nature. So this is natural light, basically. This is the lamp that they always want to keep illuminated, that they don't want to ever have it put out. That's symbolic of the light of the world, or the plasma beams, terrestrial beams of plasma. Then we have the Ouroboros over here. Non nisi parvulis. I don't know what that means off the top of my head, but it looks like this guy is sitting on what looks like treasure or something. I don't know. But the Ouroboros, this is a circuit, okay? If you don't know what the Ouroboros actually represents physically, it's an electrical phenomenon that's called a circuit, okay? It's electricity that's chasing itself. It's plasma that's following a current, or stuck on a current, I should say, or stuck on a circuit, and it's moving around. And that's what the Garden of Eden is protected by. It's protected by a flaming sword that turns every which way or whatever. It's the Ouroboros. All right, next up, here is one more, and then I think we got two more. Yeah, one more after this, and then we're going to check out those coins. Now, here's another alchemical drawing. You can figure out what these are if you just look at it like clues. You know what I mean? Like if you stop trying to figure out, first stop internalizing all of this. Okay, this doesn't represent my inner demons and I'm two-faced and I don't know. No. This represents a physical, actual, historic event and a place on Earth. That these things manifest in these ways. This angel, which is this morbid looking angel or whatever, he's holding on to these serpents on this hand, which are plasma, and then on this other hand he has a cup. These are the same cups or bowls that are poured out by the angels in the book of Revelation. There's these different bowls or domes or structures that are up there as they're attached to or a part of the firmament itself, and when they open up, their bowls pour out, or plasma comes out, or different gases and stuff come out, and they affect us down here on the surface in different ways. We've got the lion right behind him, the light. This is the tree of life symbolism imagery. Just shoots up, and it's got like little sun heads on each side because these are balls of light right here. Let's see what else we got. We got the serpents underneath. So he's treading upon the serpent in the underworld. So there's also plasma that's down in Hades. This is the entrance into the underworld, and there's plasma buildup down underneath Mount Meru as well. So it's probably different colors depending upon the gases. My money's on green. I'm sure that the gases directly under the world or in the underworld, the ghosts and all that stuff, they probably have more of a green look to them. Oh, I got a super chat from Setnig. It says BlackRock. Yes, you're right. The BlackRock Corporation, right? All these people that run the world and stuff, they're just family survivors. That's why their lineage and their bloodlines and all that stuff is so important to them. But they come from the BlackRock, or their family members did at least a long time ago. Here's another Phoenix imagery over here. Let's move on to this next one. Oh, this is also the two-headed god, Janus, as well. So it's just, they're depicted in different ways, right? What this really is if the whole Janus head is that beam of energy, right? It branches out at the bottom, creating these legs, but then it spreads back out at the top. So you've got one face facing this direction and one face facing that direction, which makes like the DC symbolism and stuff too. But you could see a face here and then a face here, and then it'll have like a toroidal donut shape around it, which makes it look like there's an eyeball here and an eyeball here. That's a little too in depth. Let's move on. All right, now here's another one where we have at the top of the sky the Yod. It kind of looks like a Vav. Anyways, this is Yod He Vav He, or YHWH, or JHWH, right? J didn't exist until recently. This is the depressurization point in the sky. It is the doom shape. It's the circle within the circle. Here's the phoenix off to one side, which is the cosmic bird of creation. The phoenix is only a phenomenon to those who don't understand what it actually is, what it physically is. It's not just a cartoon. It doesn't symbolize your internal feelings or anything. It's ionized gas that shoots up terrestrially out of plasma volcanoes, the biggest one being at the center of the world at the North Pole. That is the phoenix. It spreads its wings, etc. And here's the lamb. The word lamb comes from the word that means light, or lamp. So lampa, lamba, it's the same exact word basically. These creatures also probably lit up. So there's certain creatures that they light up in different ways because like I said, we go through a color spectrum shift every other cycle. Right now, we're underneath bright white light, which gives us all these different colors and stuff. But the first color that will come in once the world goes dark, that's what happens. Okay, the last colors we see are rainbow colors. That's every color mixed together. It's sort of an opalescent or a pearlescent shimmer. Okay, and you'll start to see way more of that the closer we get to the apocalyptic event. That's the last color that we see, is all the colors mixed together. Or, you know, sort of a rainbow symbolism color or whatever. Then after that, it goes dark. All the colors are taken away. It's a reset. Everything resets. Colors reset, gases reset, people reset, everything resets. After the darkness comes, then the light will appear. And then the first light to appear is purple. It's the purple flash, the purple dawn, and it's under a vapor canopy, so it's very bright everywhere. There are no shadows or anything because the light is diffuse. It's going throughout all of that fog and mist and stuff. Creatures like this will light up. Like if you ever walk into a black light and you're wearing like a white t-shirt, they light up. So it makes sense that these animals would be called lights or lambs or lamps. There's all these little heads over here in the clouds, little lights and stuff like that. You can see, if we go down, you can see that they're pointing up right at it. So if you ever wonder what they're pointing at in all these pictures and stuff that, you know, ancient medieval pictures, why are people pointing at the sky? Here's these different gods, representations of those lights as they go through their own cycles and what they do and stuff, right? This one right here is Kronos, obviously, because he's eating his own child. And that's because that hole up there in the sky, this right here, it sucks people up into the heavens, okay? Once the firmament cracks open, it increases buoyancy, which is what people mistake for gravity. It increases buoyancy and things become very lightweight or have no weight whatsoever. And then the gentlest wind will blow them off, just like it talks about in the Book of Mormon. And this hole in the sky is the mouth of the sky god, which sucks in, you know, this is also Itse-Yi-Yi. In you know, certain Native American traditions, there's a story of creation where there's this god named Itse-Yi, and he sucks in everything that's on the surface of the earth, and he just sucks it all in. Anyway, so that's Kronos. He'll suck in his children. He'll eat everything. It goes up to the sky as everything becomes weightless. You can see the stars around it. You can see the clouds in a line around those. And then if we go down and we zoom out a bit, you can see the tree of life. Right? It says Arbor Vita, like Arbor Day is tree day, basically. Vita means life. So like La Vida Loca, that means my crazy life. So Arbor Vita means the tree of life. This is not just any old tree. This is the beam of light that shoots up, that's connected to the earth and the sky. It's seen as a tent peg or a peg in the ground that is also connected. If you go camping, okay, you put a peg in the ground, and it's also connected to the canopy or the tent, right? Which the firmament is our tent. It's our canopy. What else we got? We got the sun and the moon over here, walking away together. We got some dudes beating a goose. I don't know what's going on back there. All right, let's continue on. Now, let's check out these coins and watch this. The reset is recorded in these coins as well as medieval artwork and stuff too, where the sky rips open and you can see these same types of images. I believe that the reset that we're talking about, that many of us are investigating and looking into, and different channels and different people and personalities, they have their own perception, as do I. I see it through my own perception filters. So that's how I will bring it to you. That's how I'm going to share it with you, right? But I believe everyone has pieces of the puzzle. I offer you my pieces, and I recommend that you take whatever pieces I give to you, and you just, you know, if you find something that connects to one of your pieces, sweet, put them together. Anything that doesn't connect, set that aside, because we're all putting the pieces together. We're all putting something that's been fractured back together. And those who have a piece that's a little further from my own, you know, it doesn't make sense for me to try to connect those two. I need to connect the ones that lead up to it and build a bridge to that other piece, if that makes sense. Now, here we can see, it says Jehovah right here, which is this eye. It reminds me of Indiana Jones. The eye is actually turned into the J. So this is Jah or Yah Ova or Yahweh, basically, because that V, like I said, is really a U. And this is not the sun. You ever see, sometimes they'll draw the sun with squiggly lines of light. But that's not the sun. That's not the true sun. That's not the point of focus. The point of focus above our heads has straight lines, straight rays, straight beams that come straight out of it. That's its nature. But the light that comes out of the depressurization point, the aegis up there, the dome in the sky, it's squiggly because it's plasma, because it's dragons and it's worms coming down out of the sky. And there, here you have it. This is from 634. Or you could say 1634, depending upon your perspective. I personally am, I feel it's pretty convincing to me so far that 1,000 years were added to our calendar, and that this is actually just the letter J for Jehovah, or I for Yahovah, or Yahweh, etc. Now, this next one is interesting. Let's check this out. Obviously, we've got the phoenix over here on this side. Let's take a closer look. If you look inside of the phoenix, you can see you have the beam of light that separates into two, creating this sort of upside down moon shape on the inverted dome. And this is on the inside of the phoenix. Now, the reason why the phoenix looks like roadkill, let me teach you guys this, okay? There's a good reason why it looks like roadkill, okay? No bird does this. No bird looks like that, not any of them, unless they've been ran over by a car. The reason it looks like this is because these legs are plasma on either side that creates an electrical arc, or the Hyperborean electrical arc theory, or heat, as I like to call it, between the two. This is Mount Meru in the center shooting upwards. This, between the legs, these are the Pillars of Hercules, okay? And this is the Garden of Eden. This is a phantom island. It's the land of the lost, etc. And then the beam shoots up, and it spreads out its wings, creates an aurora, just like we talked about. And then this head should really be the depressurization point, with plasma leaking out to whatever side the wind is blowing in. Okay, so that will create the tongue of, you know, Shiva or whoever, I don't know, those gods that stick their tongues out. That's why they do that, because it's plasma. You can see his is actually sticking out. I just noticed that. That's why he faces one direction, because that's the direction that the wind was blowing in, the jet stream, and the plasma seeped out and it went that way. At first, it all just comes out. But once it fills up and stuff like that, and it just kind of hangs out up there, then it spills out and it only goes in one direction. So you have it facing one direction with the tongue coming out. Sometimes it's a long nose, sometimes it's a beak of a bird or whatnot. All right, so that one's easy. What else we got up here? This looks like a mine, an ocean mine or something. What does this say? Yeah, let's continue on. Now this one, here we have again. Oh, this is not the one I thought it was, but this is just the same Jehovah deal. This is the depressurization point, the clouds up there in the sky. This is not local clouds. This is not a nearby cloud with regular lightning or anything. This is a part of the dome, the firmament. You can actually make out a round shape right there if you look closely, and it looks like there's a ball right there too. Now, inside of that shape, I'll show you, there are 3 balls of light. I'm still working on it. This is an active investigation. I know there's something to this. I'll show you whenever I see it here in a minute. But I've got many examples of those 3 balls of light. Now, check this out. Here on this one on the left, let's focus on this one. We've got the depressurization cloud or dome. This is really a dome. That's why they only show you a part of it like that, right? Depends on your perspective. Some people might see an oval or a circle or whatever, but it's really a dome that's coming down. That's why oftentimes they just leave it in this shape right here. It's a dome shape. And then it has Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, the tetragrammaton, Yahweh at the top, and then a guy floating up into the sky. There it is. Like, this dude is floating up to Yahweh. He's being raptured right there. That's the event. Okay, I don't know what's happening here. There's a ball here. I don't know who this is, what they represent, but I know, and this was 1582 or 582, depending on how you look at it. 582, the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages, is when this was happening. Why? Because that's one of, okay. I'm not one of these people that just says like, oh, there's only one event. There's only one, revelation, or there's only one end of the world or whatever. I feel like there's plenty of evidence that I've seen that these events are cyclical. They come and they go. They come and they go. Where people tend to get tripped up is they think it only happens once. And it's only, or if they see it as a future event, it's only going to happen once. So, there's, people are looking into like the season of Satan and Satan's little season and stuff. And I listen to people talk or whatever. Anyways, this dude's getting sucked up into the heavens. Why? Because this is the sky depressurizing, and then Archimedes' principle states that there should be an increase in buoyancy all around him, and he should just float up, and he does. And we have that recorded here on this coin. Over here, this one's a little bit more difficult to make out. Sorry, I got these images like this, but we've got these godlike beings, and they're carrying their staffs, right? This staff looks like it actually has that sort of plasma that wraps around it. That's also where we get our symbol for value, or the dollar sign here in America, which is a beam with plasma that goes around it. That's the most valuable thing of all, is life, which is energy. Sedneg, again, hey, thank you. Yeah, 1,000 years. You're right. You're right about 1,000 years. So we got the depressurization point. We got the two witnesses on either side, just like we discussed before. Let's check out this next one. Here we have it again. This is not the sun. This is not a focal point. See the squiggly lines? The straight line implies beams of light, the light that comes out. The squiggly lines imply the plasma, right? This is not sun worship. Yahweh is not the sun. It is not the moon. It is not none of that. It is the thing that makes the sun and the moon, basically. So this is an interesting one too, as well. Let's move on to this next one over here. Now here's where it starts to get really interesting. This one has Latin. It says sub umbra, which means under the shadow, I think that's usually shadow. Alarum tuarum. I can't remember what that means, but this means under the shadow. I remember that. This is Yod He Vav He right there in the middle, and this looks like how you would draw an explosion. If you're making a comic book, right? This is exactly how people draw explosions, just exactly like that. This is the sky bursting open and exploding with clouds from the instant depressurization in that area all the way around it. And this is from the Middle Ages. What is this? 1,100, 500, so 1,558, it looks like, 1558 maybe. This is the Middle Ages. These are the Dark Ages. This is the time of our history where academics has nothing to say. And, oh yeah, they had knights in armor. That was cool. Yeah, and they had tournaments and knights in armor. Did I mention that? They have nothing to say about an entire 1,000-year-ish period of history where some of the most interesting buildings ever to be created were made. The most interesting architecture came out of this period of time. Wonderful and strange inventions, bestiaries. I mean, we have to ask the question, why were there so many just vile inventions for torture and stuff during the Middle Ages? There's so many questions that are begging to be answered or studied or researched or looked into when it comes to the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages. They weren't dark. Only satanic people would say, I mean, I don't want to say that, okay? Because I used to think the same stuff, all right? But what I'm saying is it's because of satanic people that they have twisted your view of history, and they have flipped what is good into something that is bad, and they have flipped what is bad into something that is good, because that's who they are. That's the energy that they resonate with. Anyway, you can see the sky exploding, boom, right there. The tetragrammaton in the middle. Now this one's even more interesting. Check this out. I'm not gonna translate all this Latin right now, but here you have an actual dome in the sky with like all of the mist and stuff, just like we talked about, right? You got all these towers. Listen, the reason why they have all these spires and towers and stuff like that is so that the town doesn't get struck by cosmic thunderbolts. Let me explain this, because this does go over some people's heads sometimes, and it's okay. I understand. When it comes to these are lightning rods. That's what they're for. They're practical. They're not just decorative, like, oh yeah, let's make a steeple for no reason at all. That's stupid. These are lightning rods. They are not designed to attract lightning so that it will hit that. You don't want lightning to hit your building. You want to keep it away. So it can, though. So in the case that it does, they have a grounding wire from these metallic pokers to the ground so that it will follow the path of least resistance, and it won't go through your electrical devices, or it won't go through and hit you in the house or whatever, right? So that's a secondary purpose to a lightning rod. The primary purpose is that whenever you establish this and it's connected to the earth and the earth has all this positive energy, it sends that positive energy up through here, which dissipates. It mixes with the electrical buildup or the negative charge in the bottom portion of the clouds. Okay, so basically it's shooting a bunch of positive energy into the negative energy, which breaks it up so that you don't have this accumulation and this buildup of a negative charge that will eventually discharge and create a lightning bolt, right? This is why you can fight dragons with swords and stuff and pointy metallic objects or whatever, as long as you're touching the ground. That's why they do that in fiction and fantasy, because it shoots out something you can't see, which are the positive electrical charge, and it dissipates the negative electrical charge. It gets rid of it. Anyways, my point is, look at this dome. It says Yahweh on the top right there, right? You're seeing this reoccurring theme going on. This is a dome. This is, in my opinion, whenever I read about the New Jerusalem that descends from the heavens, it's a portion of the actual physical dome. There's an inverted dome up there. And, man, where was I going with that? I forgot. Anyways, this is a dome, okay? There's a dome within the dome, and there's probably other domes as well. And this will descend one day, okay? This is the actual physical moon. So this creates a projection into our sky, and we call it the moon. Moon means land, which it means like a realm, basically. So this is the physical land. This is where beings can actually physically live on the firmament up there, upside down from us. Why? Because the pressure is pushing against the exterior and the surface, right? In the middle, right here, you can have things float. This would be space. This is the space between the dome and the ground right there. Anyways, my point is the architecture changed to suit the environment. This architecture, all these spires and points and Gothic style, it's the style of the gods, because the gods knew better. The mighty ones knew we need to erect these obelisks and these pillars and whatnot to keep our city or my house from being struck by a cosmic thunderbolt during a time when the atmosphere is electrically charged, right? All right, let's continue on. All right, here's another example. This is a dome. This is a dome in the sky. It's very clearly a dome in the sky. Let's check this out. Now it says Yod-He Vav-He right here. They put the vowel points. I don't like the vowel points. It's just written sideways, and you read it from right to left. So this would be written up. Now, if you take a closer look at it, not only is it a dome, but it's an eye. You see that? This is the eye in the sky. It's the all-seeing eye. This is the eye that illuminates from every other cycle, and people can see this. Why? Because it's lit up from the earth. The earth exposes it. In the Bible, it talks about everything that is hidden will be revealed, right? Including everything in every dark place and the firmament and the heavens itself. This is probably different versions of, I don't know what these are, so I don't want to speculate too much on these little shield deals. But we've got these two cherubims, these angels, electrical phenomenon, a town directly underneath it. This says 1631, so 631. That would be the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, same type of thing. You got all these little spires on these buildings to keep the cosmic thunderbolts away. Let's continue on. I got a few more of these. Man, look at this one. So once again, we've got, looks like there's pirate ships and stuff going on, but we've got these spires directly underneath what looks like people would mistake this to be the sun. But why is there this Freemasonic imagery of like the all-seeing eye, the Eye of Ra, and these other things in the middle of the sun? That's not the sun, okay? Just, there's a triangle right there, right? The triangle can sometimes represent Mount Meru or a plasma volcano if it's unfinished, especially. When it's not unfinished and it's a regular triangle, that is a delta. In the ancient world, in Phoenician and Paleo-Hebrew, delta, or what was it? Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, the fourth letter of the alphabet. This was a picture, and it meant doorway. Okay, it meant portal. The reason that there's a delta right there is because it's a picture, and it means this is a portal. This is an opening. This is a porthole. This is an opening. This is a stargate. This is the gate that is a star. This is the actual only physical star in our world, is this one right here. Because it lights up and it's physical. But anyways, yeah, this is the all-seeing eye imagery. This is not the sun whatsoever. This is plasma coming out of a hole in the sky. And then it affects our buildings and stuff. This is in Hamburg too. This on the other side of this coin, on the flip side, we've got the depressurization point once again right here. The name, the tetragrammaton, and then underneath that we have a personification of the blue beam of energy that shoots up towards it. There will always be a godlike or a goddess-like. Sometimes people see it as male, sometimes people see it as female. It's drawn in different ways. Sometimes it's drawn both, actually. And it will always be directly underneath this shining circular object, which is the depressurization point, because that's where it is. It is directly under the real moon, the inverted dome up there. And you can see that they have these robes. Oftentimes their sash, it represents plasma that's going up this beam, this column, this pillar, this rod. They're holding on to like a branch. They're holding up the two fingers. You know, that's turned into our peace sign and stuff. And then they're stepping on these weapons, war, spears, and all that type of stuff. Because whenever you see this beam shoot up out of the earth, this terrestrial beam, whether you see it as Sophia, a princess, a female, a male, regardless of how people interpret it, one thing is for sure: it brings peace. It brings life, and it contributes to things growing faster and healthier and better because it's ionized oxygen that's filling up the atmosphere. All right, let's go to this next one. Another coin. Now look at this one. This one's so interesting. So we have the dome. The inverted dome at the top. Let's zoom into this, okay? They could have made this a circle. They could have just moved this down a little bit and just made a circle. They didn't want to. They wanted it to be an inverted dome that is connected to the firmament itself. You see that? This was how the letter D was originally drawn before people started using more jagged edges and stuff because they're carving into rock and stuff like that. This was the letter D. This is why the letter D, the dalet, this triangle in the middle, represents a portal. This is how it was originally written in Egyptian, at the very least. Then you have that portal, which is the dalet on the inside. You can see there's a circle within a circle, or a dome within a dome. And then you have these three dots. Now, these are super interesting. This is the mystery for me. I love these. To me, this is all riddles. And I love riddles. I love trying to figure stuff out, man. I like a good challenge. I'm a what's the meaning of life kind of guy, but I don't leave it at that. I go on explorations. I go on adventures. And to me, this whole world is some crazy, weird riddle maze. And I need to get to the center of it. All right. Those three dots, man. If you have ideas, I'd love to hear them. I'm dead serious. I would love to hear if this is a depressurization point in the firmament. If this is an opening, what are these three dots? You will see this time and time again, all over the place. Now, obviously, clearly, we've got like these clouds that manifest with the heads of angels that are blowing, acting as wind. And then you have these lightnings that are shooting out, right? These jagged edges. And the lightning is like striking these buildings. And, there's cataclysms. There's water down here. This might even be an island now that I take a closer look at it. Anyways, this is portraying the apocalypse, the opening of the firmament, a polarity shift at the very least, where the energy from inside of the earth is released and it shoots up and lights up the sky, and we can see what is actually up there, and the heavens are no longer dark and everything is revealed to us. That's amazing. I love that one. Here, then sometimes they're more blatant about it. And remember, this usually has the name Yahweh written right inside of it. This is also the Eye of Ra. These sky gods have many different names. Now, in the Christian religion, because much, if not most of the world is has some sort of Christian background, this would be your Old Testament Yahweh God, the sky god, the God of the sky. The sun, or the new light, is birthed up out of the Virgin Mary, the earth, and it is a beam that shoots up and touches this one. It goes up to meet its father, or the sky father, however you want to see it. This is all like story form stuff. But you can see it right up there. It's the dalet, or the opening in the sky, and it's got all this light that comes off of it, right? Oh, I got a new super chat. Jim. Oh man, I can't talk. Hey Jim, thank you. Wow, $80 and there's 228 likes. I'm honored. That's so nice to hear. I'm glad that you guys are having a good time. I hope you get something out of it. All right, let's continue on. Let's see. We got these boats and stuff. Nothing else I really want to share on that one. Here's another example. This one's a little blurrier. Sorry for this one, but you can see it's the dome. It's the inverted dome up there. They could have made this lower. They could have put a circle up there. This is not the sun. Look how gigantic that is. That is an inverted dome, Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, right there, with the word Manu written right there in the middle, which means of the moon, or you could say of man, but I think that actually comes from the word moon. That's pretty interesting too. Domini means like Lord or a ruler. What else? Omnia means all. All in Manu Domini. That's interesting. All right, let's see. Let's continue on. That's just another example of the inverted dome in the sky. Let's see what else we got. Now, here it is again on this coin. Let me zoom out. Check it out. You can see all these spires, all this Gothic style architecture and stuff, right? And then in the middle, we've got this event that's happening up there in the heavens. I'm going to zoom in all the way so you can see what these things are drawn as. Now, when I was watching the Conspiracy or Us in particular, when he was breaking this one down, he wasn't sure what these were. Now, if you look closely, they kind of look like scrolls, right? If you like undo a scroll and you look at it, they also look like the letter Yod. So these represent those three balls that I was talking about earlier. There's a connection between Ezekiel being handed a scroll that descends from the sky, which John was told in Revelation. He was also handed a scroll. He was told to eat it. So all of these things are little clues as to figure out what this physically, actually, historically is. They look like the letter Yod a little bit to me. Anyways, that's the delta. That's the opening. That's the stargate, right, in the heavens. And this is depicted. People didn't just stick that on there. That's what existed at the time. The heavens opened up and the sky lit up. Here's another one with those same three little scrolls inside of the delta, which means door or opening. And then the phoenix bird underneath it, carrying a scepter, like a stick or whatever, right underneath it, spreading its wings. That's the cosmic bird. You've got the city underneath. Okay, that's pretty cool. Castles and stuff like that. A lot of waterways. I wonder if this is depicting a particular city. Not like a modern city. I don't want to get too deep down the rabbit hole. Let's continue on. Here's another one. Now this one's interesting. It looks like we got Benjamin Franklin or somebody. I don't know. I'm just joking. This one it's got the Dalet inside of the circle, the depressurization point, which acts as a door into the heaven, or into beyond the dome, with the eye, the all-seeing eye right there. And then we have off to the side, this guy standing right next to an unfinished pyramid, or a pyramid you can't see the top of it. And then it looks like there are some Latin inscriptions here and certain letters, specifically the D, the V, the I, and the X. I don't know, some other ones, they're like, some of them are capitalized. That's a code, man. I'm seeing riddles and codes and stuff all over the place. So this guy's standing right next to an unfinished pyramid, which is directly underneath this depressurization point, Mount Meru, the unfinished pyramid, the all-seeing eye right above it. Let's move on. Excuse me. All right, here's another one. So you have the dome right underneath, right? The Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh right there, the light coming out. Then you have what looks like possibly plasma or something coming down. But then these are faces over there. Those are faces and they're blowing wind. Now remember, I said that whenever it depressurizes, it increases buoyancy, right? The water is one of the things that will just float right up into the sky first. And I've talked about this many times, how our oceans will disappear. They will be drank by Kronos. They will get sucked up and out of our sky. Much of it. Some of it will come back down in the form of ice, and it'll hail like crazy, like the biggest hail. You can't even think of how big the hail is going to be. But this is the ocean, basically. And the ocean just lifts up. The waves, whenever you increase the buoyancy, let's say that the sky pops open. Pow! Pops open. Then Archimedes' principle kicks in, and you have an increased buoyancy factor. And then all these little waves that are building, they'll just keep going and going and going. They'll get higher up and higher up and higher up until you just have walls of water that are moved about by the slightest breeze, but especially in hurricane force winds. And then you can see that there's like lightning striking this building back here and stuff. This one's really interesting. It says Yehovah right here off to the side. Levabor. I'm not sure what that means. I got a super chat from Joshua Adams. Hold on, what'd you say? I'm so excited. Oh my goodness, look at all the people in the chat. There's like 500 people watching right now. High fives to all of you. Welcome to my channel. Joshua Adams says, you rock, bro. Favorite YouTube channel of all times. Always sweet info. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're almost done. We're going to check out a couple more of these and then we're going to wrap up for the night. All right, so there's that one, creating this giant wave. That's not a tidal wave. This is not a historic tidal wave that happened. I mean, most tidal waves don't even look like how we imagine them as children. It's just the water levels rise and they come into the land, and, you know, a tidal wave can really be like 3 feet above sea level or whatever. This is depicted in the movies quite often. What's that movie I'm thinking of? What was that movie? Where that guy goes into like space man, what the hell is that movie? You know what I'm talking about. He goes to some other planet and there's like this huge wave that just goes up in the sky. That's what that represents. All right, anyways. I'm not that the coin represents the movie, but you know what I'm saying. Here's another depiction of it on another coin from 1628, I guess, or 628. This says Anno, so Anno means year. And then we have the word Lavabo. Oh, Lavabor. Lavabor. I'm going to have to look that up. Volente. And then Humilis. All right, I don't know. I'm going to translate that. If you guys know the translation, feel free to put that in the comments. Here we have the inverted dome, the Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, the tetragrammaton, the exceedingly strong lightnings, the thunderbolts of the god that are coming down, going right through this wave and hitting the earth. Then you have the slightest wind blowing, and then the water comes up and it moves across just like that. This is depicted on the coins because they saw this happen. I mean, that's reasonable to me. That this, let me zoom in on this so we could take a good look at it, right? What looks to be like the ocean or water or something. It's not a tree that's blowing in the wind. Okay, that's water. All right, next up, we got 2 more and then we're done. This one's interesting. This one you can see there's some sort of a war. What looks like little regiments and stuff all over the place. We got a cavalry here in the foreground. All the horses are out going to war and stuff. You've got all these little troops. So there's all these wars. And then you have this steeple, the iconic steeple in the background. While there is this Luciferian type angelic figure that seems to be floating down from the heavens. Now, if you put together what it comes with, we can build context for what we're actually looking at. Let's look at these stars, right? 6 pointed stars, I might add. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The 7 stars. Now there's a constellation at the North Pole, which looks like a little tiny dipper. Like the Big Dipper, it's got 7 stars. There are the 7 sisters for the Pleiades or the Plegerans, etc. And then there are 7 mountains, as above, so below, the septentrio at the North Pole. So this would be a pictogram of the fall of Lucifer, or the light falling down, the heavenly light falling down, coming down into this world. Interesting. And why is there war happening? Well, when Lucifer comes down into this world, this is the inauguration of the season of Satan. This is when a negative energy or negative charge takes over. All that terrestrial energy has died. The light of the world has been murdered or retracts, or it goes down into some quest into the underworld, and all that good positive terrestrial energy gets charged, and Mother Earth pulls it into her heart. Therefore, we don't benefit from it up here on the surface. We actually see a degradation and an exponentially increasing entropy or entropic conditions, I guess is how you would say that, here on the surface. Things get worse and worse. It's sin. This that moon, that inverted dome that I showed you guys, the real moon they used to call sin. So I'll just use this one for example, right? let's say this is the physical actual moon that projects an image of itself into our sky. This would be the moon, which in ancient times was called Shin or Sin. Shin is a letter in Hebrew, and it means to eat or to consume, and therefore to destroy. So this is the moon that can open up sometimes and eat people's souls, like Pac-Man. Okay, so the physical moon is a part of the firmament. It opens up, and it causes depressurization, which means that the auroras and the spirits and the ghosts and all that stuff that are up there, they'll be the first ones to get sucked up and out of this world. And it's eaten by the moon or the land above us. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so sin. So this portion is likely to break off and fall. So that this is when sin enters into the world, or the moon falls. Moonfall, right? Just like the movie. So that is, all right, we got that one. I don't want to be too redundant. All right, let's continue on. Last one. Maybe we might have one more. Yeah, we got one more. All right, so here's another one. You can see the sun right here. Boom. Okay. So there's the sun. That is not the sun. That's something else entirely. And it's a source of light. You see all that light emanating off of it, right? Here's the moon, right? And then we should have a tree right underneath it, as we do, right? This person is actually worshiping. They're on their knees, hands up, worshiping this tree. Why? Why did the pagans worship trees? Did this turn into eventual actual worshiping of physical trees? Yeah, I'm sure it does. With the degradation of truth over time, all of these things become personalized and cartoonified and stuff, so people would actually worship trees symbolically, and then over time they forget the original meaning of it. They forget that this is plasma that's coming up out of the earth, and they just actually worship a tree. I could see that happening over time. Oh, the war. So I wanted to point this out on this other one. The reason they're all going to war is because that's the inauguration of the season of Satan. Okay, that's why there will be a world war. The devil will gather together his armies, which is just the different corporations of the world or whatever, and they'll all go to the center of the world to try to, do battle or whatever. And it's the apocalypse. It's Armageddon or Armageddon. It's Ragnarok. It's all that. That's why there's a war. But they'll all be destroyed. Okay, all of these when they listen. I'm so off track right now. There is land at the North Pole. It is circular in nature. It also, the mountain at the middle of it, acts as an antenna to our world. That antenna affects the frequency that is in the air all around us, right? When there is the tree of life bursting out of it, that frequency changes to a positive frequency. So we go through the golden age and good times. When that light is gone, then it amplifies all of the residual and leftover negative energy that's on the surface. My point is, because there is an antenna at the center of the world, there is a calling. There is a signal that is put out from that antenna. The animals will hear it. They will all they will all want to flee before the apocalypse comes. They will all want to go to a safe place, and those who are tuned in to the song of the world or the frequency of the world, they will all start going to the North Pole. Birds will flock there by the millions. There'll be whales off course, and all this stuff is going to happen. And you're already starting to see it happen right now. I was off track. I'm sorry. Anyways, that's the depressurization point up there in the heavens, in the firmament, in the sky, the inverted dome right there. The sun is right there. The moon is right there. So that is not either of the two. This is the tree of life right here. It's drawn as an actual physical tree, but it is not an actual physical tree. It is an ethereal tree. And the root of it, or the stump of it, is Mount Meru, or the stump of Yggdrasil, the tree of Norse traditions. All right, last up. This one right here. Now, this one also has the same elements, right? Let me zoom out. You could check it out. You got, like, at first glance, just some guys holding onto a pillar. Someone's holding onto a branch. Okay. There's a city in the background. It's a walled city, too, by the way. Keep out the phantazoids. And then we've got a hand that's coming out of the clouds up here. Now, that plasma that comes down out of the sky, it branches out, okay? It splits. and it's like the Hydra. Okay, so one head splits into two. So it loses one head and it becomes two, and then those two become four or whatever. And this is sort of the hand symbolism, a hand of light that's reaching down out of the sky. That plasma is also seen as like the hair of some sort of celestial god or goddess or whatever. And then whenever the firmament reestablishes itself, that plasma is cut off. So that hair is cut off. That's why Loki and other gods like that, they're seen as barbers. And that's why they have the pole. This is the pole of the barbers right here. Okay, and that's all of this is connected. So this is the column. This is the pillar. It's got a crown on top of it, as you can see. Hold on, let me zoom in a little bit more. So it's got a crown right here. He's also, look at those two middle fingers right there. You see how they're stuck together? It's doing it right there too. I see this everywhere. There's a crown on top of this column because that's the king. That is the king of the earth. This is the true king of the world, is the light that comes up out of the world. Let's see what else. What else I want to point out here? The olive branch. I don't want to get into that right now. Oh, the crown. Where do crowns come from? This is interesting. So here's my theory on where crowns come from. A crown, you put that on your most valuable person, right? Your king, your queen, or president, or whatever they have out there. I don't know. They act as the same way as those steeples do. Okay. You want to protect that person, whenever they go out and stuff, you don't want them to get hit by electricity. So they wear an actual crown of little spiked metals, right? And they work the same way that lightning rods do, just as we went over earlier, right? So they wear this little lightning rod hat, basically. It's lightning fashion. Lightning rod fashion, just like we talked about, existed in ancient France, 200-300 years ago. They had lightning rod fashion. The crown is one of those original concepts. People would have different crowns or whatever. Now the rich people, they decorate their crowns with rubies and stuff like that, but that doesn't matter. Then it has to be metal, okay? And it's to protect them for whenever they go out. I mean, it turned into other things over time. Whenever the atmosphere changed, then people lost the significance of, why are we wearing our crown? This looks stupid. Why do I have this on my head? Why is this important? What does it mean? What does it symbolize? It's a protective device. Now, also symbolically, there is a crown of thorns, right? So above this, let's say that this column represents like Jesus, okay? Jesus will be this beam that shoots up, spreads its arms out like the Thunderbird and all that stuff. And then above it, we have this image right here. This is going to have plasma coming out of it. This is the crown of thorns right above it, right? All right. Let's see. Anything else that I want to point out here? I think that might be it for today. So before I wrap things up, I do want to also give a shout out to, I think someone said My Lunch Break, right? I am subscribed to them. I do like his stuff. Just because I shout people out doesn't mean we work together or we know each other or anything like that. I just want to say thanks. I appreciate all the other content creators out there. I appreciate that you guys, when I go to other people's live streams, I try to donate or something, because people donate to mine. And I want to donate my local truth seekers that add and contribute to my path. You know what I mean? So My Lunch Break, that guy's got good stuff. And Conspiracy Are Us, that one too. I've got all kinds of other ones, my own little circle of truthers and truth seekers and stuff. Keep an eye out. I'm going to start a new segment where I have a guest on my channel. So all these other little channels that I'm watching and people that, talk about similar topics or whatever, I will soon have a new segment called Truth Seekers, where I will have someone else as a guest on my channel, and I'll interview them. We'll talk back and forth about different subjects and stuff. And I have a picture in my community section right now. It says Truth Seekers. Now you know what that's about. So if you have someone you'd like to recommend, first, you guys can feel free to go, put the word out, let those channels know or whatever. If anyone wants to be a guest on my channel, they can send me an email to my business email. But I'm pretty much going to handpick who I would like to be a guest on my channel, right? At least to begin with. All right, cool. Hey, thanks for watching today's live stream. I appreciate that you guys came and visited. This was Records of the Reset, and we covered a lot of stuff today. So check out my website. Okay, if you like these topics, check out my website. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a wall where members of my website can actually talk to each other, post videos, pictures, anything you'd like to. Sometimes I actually post video responses myself to, posts that people make on my wall on my website. Lots of stuff. There's a free 24-hour trial. Some pages are public, like the main pages are all public. If you want to get more in depth, there's a free trial if you want to check them out, have a cram session. My books, Ancient Oblivion, The Plasma Apocalypse, and Ancient Oblivion, Return to Hyperborea. The Plasma Apocalypse are the cliff notes on all of the plasma and the things that we've covered today. And then Hyperborea, or Return to Hyperborea, is my newest book, which covers that circular island, paradise, the Garden of Eden, Hyperborea, and the plasma volcano at the center of the world. And a lot of people are already checking it out, reading it, and leaving reviews and telling me what they thought. And I'm getting a lot of good feedback. I really appreciate it. And I'm glad that you guys are enjoying my work. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
Hard to fade away, but something's forcing me to stay. It'd be easier for me